So, it was only recently that I felt like I could consider myself an artist. And even then, saying it out loud feels pretentious. Surely I'm not worthy of a title held by some of humanity's greatest contributors, I thought. Yet, when I analyze the work of those I consider to be real artists now, I feel like I recognize the humanity in their work more clearly than ever. Applying that analysis to my own work, separating myself as best as I can, yields similar results. That has to mean something, and dare I say, I think it might make me an artist. There's an interesting trend that arises when I examine the art that shaped my past. Certain aspects of art show signs of their processes. Beyond what the art itself communicates, I feel as though I can recognize what the artist was feeling as they made it. It's become easier for me to tell when something was rushed or poorly thought out, but it's also become easier for me to see the earnest desire to add something to the world. In particular, nothing has made that more obvious to me than Skyward Sword. So, Skyward Sword is an interesting beast. The vision was quite simple. Make a 3D Zelda game where the sword moves in tandem with your controller, the Wii Remote with Wii Motion Plus. They managed to pull this off with Wii Sports Resort, so that part shouldn't have been a problem. But E3 2010 comes around, and Nintendo staff decides to show a demo live on stage to show how the game is progressing. The resulting presentation is probably one you're familiar with.
Okay, here we see the Deku-Bob has popped
これは
up here.
口のある方向に切らないとダメなんですね。だか
Now
ら
you
上
have
か
to
ら
pay
行っても
attention because the only way to defeat it is to cut it in the same direction that its mouth is open.
ダメですね。
See?
横向きに切ります。
It doesn't work if you cut top to bottom on it. Okay, so here, I have to cut vertically. Oh.
やってやりました。
As Miyamoto struggled to demonstrate the motion controls in front of a live audience, I couldn't help but feel sympathetic. It somehow managed to make me feel compassion for a mega corporation. Miyamoto kept a smile on his face, but you can tell he was not happy with the way it was going. The presentation was a failure, but I couldn't help but be intrigued. It's rare to see an organization normally so put together screw up this badly. Especially in that era, Nintendo were all about loading their games with polish and detail. They still put out bad games, but they were bad ideas executed flawlessly. Nintendo's design philosophy demands perfection even at the expense of fun. They're not a company that likes showing things off before they're ready. Seeing that presentation, I couldn't help but compare it to the way I feel about my own unfinished work. To see all the parts of the project laid out yet to be put together is jarring, ugly, gross even. I would not be surprised at all to start feeling this way while editing this project together. Yeah. It's heartening to know that no matter how far an artist goes, there's always going to be that iffy period where no one, not even the artist, feels like it's going anywhere. Painters will always be faced with an unfinished portrait they feel they could mess up if they don't get their next stroke right. Composers will deal with hundreds of horrible sounding chords before they find the ones that work, the only ones that anyone else will ever hear. Creation is terrifying because the artist is exposed to their true, raw limits. The only way they can get better is to face those limits over and over. The finished work may turn out kind of shitty, dare I say cringy, but poor quality can't be conflated with a lack of heart. That finished project is earnest. The unmistakable mark of the artist's soul is forever etched into it. It speaks for itself from then on, maintaining the imperfections as a part of its identity. I've grown to appreciate that separation. I haven't created much in the grand scheme of things, but everything I have created feels like it's become an entirely separate entity. My work encompasses particular feelings from a particular person that I may not even relate to anymore. To the optimist, these works are time capsules. To the pessimist, they are graves. They represent a soul that no longer exists. Once they reach that point, I don't think soul is the right word to use for that state of existence. It's more appropriately described as the work's ethos, its fundamental, unchanging character and message. This ethos is why it can feel so troubling to see remasters or mods tamper with that ethos, instead of leaning into its most defining characteristics. If the ethos is a grave, then to remaster the ethos is to defile that grave. So I'm focusing on video games to describe the existence of the artistic ethos, primarily because it's the form of art I'm most familiar with. Although making videos is currently my strongest method of artistic expression, as a consumer of art, I have the most experience digesting and analyzing video games. The added element of interactivity changes the experience of art from a monologue to a dialogue. How the player interacts with the tools and instructions provided teaches them both about the developer as well as themselves. How influential the developer intends for the player to be can range from a total monologue to something closer resembling a creation tool. And this level of intention also contributes to that ethos. Skyward Sword, then, becomes one of the most fascinating games to analyze. Regardless of how successful it is in its concept, you can feel the earnest desire by the developers to completely revolutionize the way we mechanically interact with this medium. The Wii was kinda all about that, generally, but its faith in its own gimmicks as a permanent transformation of interaction steadily declined. The revolution of Wii Sports faded into the minimal motion use of games like New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Skyward Sword was this last-ditch effort to make this transformation happen. It becomes really clear when you play Skyward Sword that one-to-one sword movement really was the focus above all else. The moment the player gets their first sword, the game is all about making specific slashes to accomplish various objectives. Horizontally slashing thin trees to slice them, diagonally slashing ropes to break barriers, and slashing specific directions to harm certain enemies. It's neat, and provided you're swinging your Wii remote as much as the game implies is necessary, it really does feel like you're swinging the sword yourself. Playing Skyward Sword is like playing pretend alongside the devs. You know you're not really swinging a sword, but if you can let yourself pretend you are wielding one, Skyward Sword rewards this engagement. The thing that separates Skyward Sword from other similarly gimmicky Wii games is that it's actively trying to be more than a game. Wii Sports Resort, for instance, has no qualms about presenting itself as anything but a collection of score-chasing minigames with very obviously game-like characters. Skyward Sword, meanwhile, wants to be an original world with believable characters and motivations that also demands that you swing a sword with your own physical arm. Skyward Sword's ethos seems to be that motion controls not only ought to be the way of the future, but must be. It demands that the medium must engage players beyond buttons, sticks, or mice. And now, this is the part of the video you probably saw coming if you're as much of a Nintendo freak as me. And that's Skyward Sword HD. Aside from displaying in an upgraded 1080p and 60 FPS, its biggest claim to fame was the option for all motion controls to be mapped to buttons and sticks. And that's really strange, right? To be clear, I'm not knocking the remaster for allowing those who weren't able to play with motion controls to experience the game. That's obviously a great thing. I won't knock it for the same reason I won't knock Celeste's assist mode. Giving more people the ability to experience art is always a good thing, and Nintendo could have done so with this remaster. The critical flaw with so many motion-based Wii titles is that they assume the player is right-handed. In Skyward Sword, Link is also right-handed. The motions on screen will not translate to your movements unless you use the controller in a right-handed fashion. Nintendo could have enabled left-handed players to comfortably experience the game by adding an option to switch Link's dominant hand. Instead, they simply abandoned motion controls altogether. The assertion of stick flick slashing as an equal alternative serves to admit that Skyward Sword was a failure. Despite how much the devs accomplished pushing the Wii Remote to its absolute limits, it was ultimately for naught. And as an extra layer of irony, the console it was remastered onto was the Switch, a console with such a successful gimmick that it remained Nintendo's only modern console for 8 years. Not only did their next console turn out to be a sequel with the exact same gimmick, but the idea of a hybrid system shaped trends within the industry far more than the Wii Remote ever did. The Switch accomplished what the Wii, and thus Skyward Sword, failed to do. And what remains of Skyward Sword's ethos is a bit of a mess. The world is frankly underbaked. The sky only contains a handful of islands worth visiting for more than 30 seconds. The surface is simultaneously linear and repetitive. The story has heartfelt moments, but there's simply not enough going on for it to truly stick the landing. And despite all that, I can't help but love Skyward Sword. It released at a perfect age for me when I was fully willing to make whatever motions it requested of me. I still enjoy playing through the game today because of how impactful it was on my imagination. Skyward Sword may not have changed the world, but it did change me. It lit a spark in my imagination at a time where the imagination of others my age had begun to fade. So even though it's pretty mediocre and failed to make the impact it aimed for, it nonetheless remains important for me and many others. When I finished my previous video, I was genuinely floored to see how many people wrote detailed comments on how the video affected them. Making that video was what I felt I needed to do in order to sort out my feelings and move on to a brighter future. That video's ethos is my genuine grief, and knowing others not only related to it, but grew because of it, is all I could ever hope for. Even if I don't respond to you, now and forever, I deeply appreciate what you contribute to the world with your art reflective of my own. The downside to reading these comments was Google's automated AI responses ready to go at the push of a button. If you aren't aware, whenever you leave a comment nowadays, Google's AI will automatically generate a reply and suggest the creators respond using it. I'll be honest, this was my first time witnessing this feature, and I've never seen something quite so sickening. The very idea that Google thinks I would pour my heart out in a video, only to half-ass a response when someone else did the same with their comment, is absolutely vile. As far as I'm aware, this feature cannot be turned off either, which is a recurring theme I've noticed amongst companies with AI apps. You probably noticed how truly inescapable AI has become in the modern internet. Even if you never spend a single moment sending a prompt, several companies will generate something without any bit of input, assuming it's what you want. It's downright infantilizing. It's as if they're literally feeding you in an attempt to convince you that you don't know how to eat. By now, I'm sure you've heard a variety of arguments against the use of AI, especially if this video was recommended to you. But it's still worth realizing that the companies pushing these products don't even believe in it themselves. If they did, they wouldn't be forcing it onto us. There is an art to everything humans do. In every action, we express either our own desire or the desire of another person. If you use AI because you don't consider yourself to have the skills of an artist, you already do. That prompt you wrote, putting words on the screen in accordance with your imagination, that too is art. The output is merely a tool, a means to an end. It has no ethos because it has no intention. AI's true danger is that it convinces us that we have no artistic ability while siphoning the data of our art. If you wish to add to this world, if you wish to push humanity forward, you cannot let picking up the paintbrush be as far as you go. Sure, your first painting will probably be pretty bad compared to the works of many others, but the end result was never the point. The act of creation itself is, in my opinion, what it means to be human. For the first time in human history, human-created art as a whole has competition. It's not a battle of who or what can make better art, but rather a battle of adding to the world versus repackaging and reheating it. Currently, nothing is stopping companies with AI from scouring the internet for data and using it for training purposes without the original artist's permission. I am risking that prospect by merely posting this video onto this platform. I don't allow that to deter me, however, because as much as AI can do, what it can't do is create something genuinely new. It can only jumble and iterate on what already is. And what already is will always be more impactful than its fragile imitation. It's truly a travesty for art that existed prior to the prominence of modern AI, but it's simultaneously a boon for new art going forward. People who want to consume real human art are far more aware of that desire than ever before. You may not believe it now, but you can be someone who adds to humanity's ever-expanding story. Your first time creating will be bad. You will suck at it. But I urge you to keep going in spite of that. No matter how bad it is, you've engaged in the act of creation. And in time, you will be shocked by how much of an impact you can make. I certainly was, and I'm sure I will continue to be. So please, create alongside me. I'll gladly await what you can introduce to humanity.